The woman in your life will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily.
Hello everybody and welcome to Women's Spaces. My name is Elaine Holtz, and as always I am so excited about today's guest. I have a wonderful, wonderful woman with me by the name of Carolyn Banuelos, who just happens to be running this year for the Santa Rosa City Council. And I've interviewed Carolyn several times. She works for the living room, but this time she's going to be interviewed wearing her candidate's hat. So I'm really excited about it. But you know, before we get into the show, I want to do a special shout out. I am so excited because a dear friend of mine by the name of Dolores Huerta, and you know, it was really interesting because I did some surveys and I found out many people really don't know who Dolores Huerta is, but I'm going to tell you right now, she was the co-founder. Now remember, the co-founder, that means she didn't walk behind or she didn't walk in front. She walked side by side with Cesar Chavez when they worked on developing the National Farm Workers Association, which later became the United Farm Workers of America. And I want to flash this picture for my viewers. I just love this picture. It is just amazing to me. There's Dolores, and I did a little collage. There's the actual, what the actual Medal of Freedom looks like, and it says, "Congratulations, Dolores Huerta, Presidential Medal of Freedom 2012. And if my viewers, you can see, there it is. There's the Medal of Freedom. Well, congratulations. I am so, so proud of her. And you know, another thing that's very interesting too, if my viewers go to, www.womenspaces, you can also see an interview with Dolores that I did in 2006 when she was here to support our bilingual radio station, KPBF. We know allergies, folks. Allergies. Well, I'm really excited about that, about Dolores. And let me explain a little bit about the Medal of Freedom. The Medal of Freedom is the nation's highest civilian honor. It is presented to individuals who have made a special, meritorious contributions to the national interest of the United States, to world peace, or other significant endeavors. And you know, it's really interesting. What really makes me resonate with Dolores Huerta and the United Farm Workers is because my father was a union man. And you know, I want to remind people, you know, there's so much negativity now about unions that it really drives me up a tree. I have to be honest with you. And why does it drive me up a tree? Let's identify ourselves again here. Why does it drive me up a tree? Because my father, Solomon Holtz, who belonged to Mailers Union number 9 in Los Angeles, which was for the newspapers. He worked for the Daily News. And one day I went to a supermarket, and I didn't realize that there were a bunch of people outside with signs, you know, demanding better wages. And I just went in and bought the groceries my mother sent me to. And my father happened to see me crossing the line. And when I got home, I swear there was smoke coming out of his ear. And my father was a very, very mild man. You know, he never really got excited about things, but man, he was real excited that day. And he says, "So where were you today?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, did you see those people out front?" And I go, "Yeah." He says, "Well, those people were union people, and they were picketing. And I want you never, never, ever to cross a picket line." And then he showed me the scar on his head. And I said, "Dad, what's that?" He says, "This is what they did to me when we were trying to bring the unions in 1930. He says, "Without the unions, Elaine, always remember, you would not have an 8-hour day. They would not have lunch breaks. They would not have safety issues. None of these things would be happening. And never, ever cross the picket line." Well, I never did again. And when I met Dolores Huerta, and I met her way back in the 70s when we were boycotting grapes, and I couldn't believe what was happening, that the farm workers were going through such struggles. You know, there was not proper food or wages or housing or any of this stuff. I mean, and the landowners were just treating them horrendously. And true to my father's words, once a union came in, let me tell you something, folks, it really changed. So if you think that we're benefiting anything in the United States by cracking down or getting rid of the unions, you better think twice. You know, the unions gave us dignity. The unions gave us a middle class. And my father always said he never met a boss that wanted to willingly give a raise. So just remember that. And once again, congratulations to Dolores Huerta, just the most beautiful soul in the world. And before I introduce my guest, I want to say one thing, one opinion that I have. Dolores has accomplished 3 things by getting this medal. Number one, of course, she's a woman. What an honor. You know, it only was 1920 that we even got the vote. And it wasn't until about the 80s that women actually start winning elections. And here we are with Carolyn Banuelos, and she could run for city council. I mean, this wasn't possible way back when. The second thing is she's a woman of color. She's a Hispanic woman and very proud of it. And the third thing is she's a labor organizer. She's a union organizer. And that really gives it a lot of meaning. So there's a lot to think about, and that's the whole purpose of Women's Space, is to get us all to think. Well, anyway, without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest, Carolyn Banuelos. Carolyn, welcome to Women's Spaces.
Oh, thank you so much, Elaine. It's a pleasure to be here again.
Oh, thank you. It's so, I mean, I've had you here because when you talked about the living room and all the other good things that you talk about, and now we're going to just get into your candidacy, which congratulations for having the courage to run.
Thank you.
You know, the way I like to start the show out, you know, I could show my guests, my viewers here, look at this is 2 pages of all the involvements that Carolyn Banuelos has been involved with. You know, she's Sonoma County Latino Democratic president. She was the president, looks like, from from 1996 until 2009, and now she's again reelected as president. I mean, she's also part of the Coalition for Latino Civic Engagement. She's been the chair since 2007. Of course, United Farm Workers, volunteer, and working with KBBF and Catholic Charities. She's on the Planning Commission. I can go on and on and on. What credentials. But what I like to do is let my guests tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, anything. Where were you born? You know, us women, we'd love to know about each other.
That's true. That's true. Well, first let me say I am really honored to be here at the show where you are honoring Dolores Huerta.
Oh.
Because she, you know, I think all women, but particularly women of color and women like ourselves, we stand on the shoulders of women like Dolores Huerta, and I too, like you, really, really admire her and for her courage and for all the things that she's done. I just am so excited that she got the Medal of Freedom, and I just can't tell you enough how excited I am to be here on the same day that you're talking about it, because I've been so excited about it all week as you've been telling us about it. So that's the first thing. And also, you're right, I've been a volunteer, very active volunteer for the United Farm Workers for many years, and usually help organize the marches that we have every year on Cesar Chavez's birthday. And so for that also, I'm really excited. And then thirdly, let me say that my father was also a union man at a time when immigrants, my father is an immigrant, and an immigrant from Mexico, at a time when immigrants especially, well, we all, needed to be in unions in order to make sure that they were not being taken advantage of. And my father always says, he's 82 years old now, and he has this tiny pension as a result of working in a union, that if it wasn't for that pension, you know, he and my mother would probably be on the street right now. So that's how important all the things that you said, and I don't need to echo it, but all the things that you said, how important it is to honor unions and to remember that that's why we have the things that we have today. So just wanted to say that, because I couldn't let that pass up, because I'm a really strong union supporter.
Well, you know, we can't say it enough, Carolyn. Mm-hmm. We really can't. You know, people forget. You know, we begin to take things for granted. And you know something, when it comes to freedom, when it comes to a decent wage, a decent work hours, all that other good stuff, we cannot take it for advantage.
Not at all.
Take advantage of. You know, we have to recognize our past and
That's
where
right.
it came from.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely
go
right.
into a little personal about
Sure,
yourself. Now we
sure.
know your father's a union man, and anything else you'd like to
Absolutely.
share.
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, one of 4 children, actually 5 children. And I think I was telling you earlier, I had a really happy childhood, and my parents, thank goodness, are both still alive today, and I try to get down there and visit them as much as I can. I grew up in a home that always talked about politics and the importance of politics. Even my father following politics in Mexico, my mother always following politics here, and how important it was. And so I started to get involved early as a high school student, realizing, you know, when I had government, how important that was. And I met Mayor Tom Bradley when I was in high school, and that was, for me, it was like meeting a rock star. I was like, oh my God, it's the mayor. And I was at the LA courthouse one day with my class, and I was a freshman at the time in high school, and he's a very tall man, and I just remember being in awe and never dreaming that I would actually run, but just, he was a person of color. He was the mayor of Los Angeles, you know, one of the biggest cities in the world, and here he was standing in front of me and being very gracious to all the young high school students.
Well, you know, you bring up a good point. You know, it's amazing how important it is for our public leaders to go out in the community and meet, particularly our young people, because you never know how they're going to influence you.
That's
well,
right.
It sounds like your early years really prepared you. So why don't you tell us? So you end up going to school, and tell us a little bit about that.
Right. I went to college at night, put myself through school. I always had to work. My parents never had a lot of money. We were always working class completely, and so had to go put myself through college. So I went to junior college for 10 years, and then I finally was able to transfer over to Sonoma State, and I finally got my degree in political science. I did a minor in women's studies. At the time in the early 90s, they only had a minor, they didn't have a major. So I did a minor in women's studies, and it was one of the happiest days of my life when I finally got my bachelor's degree.
Can I ask you a question? When you say junior college, did you go to Los Angeles City College?
I went to a number of different, I went to West Los Angeles City College.
Oh, okay.
Because my parents were on the west side in LA. I went to, didn't go to Santa Monica. I went to the junior college here, and I also went to San Jose City College.
Oh, okay. Because the reason I asked is because I actually got my AA in journalism from Los Angeles students.
Oh.
So I thought maybe we were kin there, but I did get my BA from Sonoma State. So
yes.
of course, so you got it in political science.
Right.
Well, it sounds like that all this experience has been preparing you to be for the Santa Rosa City Council. Now, I know that you've run, I think, 1 or 2 times.
Mm-hmm, yes.
What is it that you have the courage, number one, to run, and also to keep putting your hat in the ring? I mean, I really admire that about you.
Well, thank you. It's either I'm nuts or, you know, it's there's something about it. I really have always felt that I have something to offer in terms of being an elected official, and all the work you've seen, all the work that I've done. I work on the Cinco de Mayo committee every year. I have always been working for the community, and I have just felt that if I could take it to a higher level where all the decisions are made, that I could be even more effective. And I've done nothing but prepare for that. In the last 10 years, I have been a volunteer for the city. I started off in the Community Advisory Board, which I know you sit on now. I was on the first one. Before that, I was on the Community Action Team, which preceded the Community Advisory Board. The same idea, working in the community, working with neighborhoods. And then after that, I was on the Board of Community Services, which is all about monitoring what happens with rec and parks. So then, finally, I came to the Planning Commission. So I've been there since 2009, and I'm in my 4th year being a Planning Commissioner. All of that, I feel, and as well as my involvement in the community, the Latino community, sitting on other nonprofit boards, I feel have prepared me to make the hard decisions that the city of Santa Rosa needs to make, or any city for that matter.
Well, you know, one of the things when I listen to you, I have to sum it up, and it's, I hear the word dedication in my mind, because I feel that you have really been dedicating to service the community, and I mean, my hat is off to you. Well, you know, there's so many things happening in the city right now. I mean, I know I'm involved with district elections. I'm involved with the community advisory board. I mean, my God, I can go on and on.
Right.
What in your mind what do you think are the most important issues, particularly that's in your mind, and that you would like to work on if you were to win the seat on the city council?
It's a great question. I think first and foremost, obviously, especially as we watch what's happening at the national level, it's rebuilding our economy. We have been affected just like the rest of the country with the lack of jobs, all the foreclosures, all of those things have affected Santa Rosa, and what that amounts to or results in is less tax money for the city, which can mean fewer services for our residents. And so first and foremost, I think it's rebuilding our economy and doing what we can at the local level. There's only so much I think we can do, but I do think there are some things that we can do. One of the first things I think, for example, is I think we need to look at how we can make Santa Rosa a destination city. I think that just like Napa, or even San Francisco, dare I say, Santa Rosa needs to really have a place on the map and be the place that people want to come to when they visit Northern California. And I think that starts with a really effective marketing plan for the city of Santa Rosa. The Amgen, tour that that has put I kept hearing that, and when they were in LA, they kept saying, it started in Santa Rosa. That's the kind of stuff that we need to be more a part of. That's the first thing. The second thing I think is that as a planning commissioner, I've really seen the whole discussion, if you will, about the environment versus business. How do we make those two things work? And I think that's what smart growth is all about. So as a planning commissioner, I've really tried to balance those two. In other words, making sure that we attract businesses and make it simpler for businesses to come to Santa Rosa, but at the same time doing what we can to protect our environment. And I think it's a balance. I don't think they're necessarily in conflict, but I think we have to be aware of both at all times. And I've tried to do this as a planning commissioner, and one of the big things I think I want to see is the connector bridge, for example. And knowing that in order to build that bridge, it's going to take a lot of funding. That's one of the things I want to accomplish while I'm on the council. I want to see that come to fruition because I think it's really important that we connect the east to the west.
Oh,
and,
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. In so many ways. And then the third thing was one of the things that you touched on was district elections and the whole idea of inclusion. I don't think that district elections, that's an issue I've been working on for 20 years here in the city of Santa Rosa. I was involved in a petition drive that I headed up. I've been involved in this last go-round with the charter review. And it's been very frustrating for me, but I finally feel like the people in the city are ready for district elections.
Well, I hear that it's finally may make it to the November ballot, which is really exciting. And I want to just piggyback on this about the district elections. When I first heard about it, and I first got involved, I thought, oh, maybe it's not a good idea. It's going to divide the city and blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, I began to realize that there's an imbalance of representation, and that what district elections do is they level the playing field, so to speak. But the most important thing is that we have voter rights. And that if the city is not careful, we could place a lawsuit. So I know there's going to be a lot of hullabaloo about it. So I really encourage my viewers to really investigate and to find out, more and more about district elections. Go ahead.
Right. You're absolutely right. I think it's all about representation, not just with respect to demographics, but also with geographical representation, so that all the different areas of the city are represented. Santa Rosa is a big city. We're almost at 160,000 people. We have about 80,000 people who are registered to vote. That's a lot of people, and many of them I found as a planning commissioner and all the other places that I have served on various boards and commissions, I have found that people don't feel represented. And this will be a huge step, I think, in that direction.
And also people need to think about like the supervisors, there's districts. Like I know when there was the election in my district, Mike McGuire and Deborah Fudge, and they both knocked on my door. and now that Mike's in, I get to know him on a personal level.
Right, absolutely.
But another interesting thing that I think I would like to point out to my viewers that I find fascinating about you, and that is you're really running your election on a shoestring. I mean, but I just admire you so much for that. I mean, in today's world, money. I try to encourage my viewers, actually, if someone's got a big campaign going, you better ignore them. Look to the guy that has little money, because that's the person I believe even has more dedication and is not really serving as many people as some of the bigger people. So I know you need volunteers, you need help. So why don't you just go through a few areas that you feel. I know at the end of the program, I'm going to flash on the credits how people can get a hold of you. But how can people help you? What are some of the things people can do?
Oh, my goodness, Elaine, you're so right. A campaign, it takes a lot to run. And as you mentioned, I've run before. And one of the hardest things is building a strong organization. It takes money, but it also takes people power. It's all about people. And mine is just as much a grassroots effort as any other campaign. So first and foremost, we need volunteers. We need people to help us walk on the ground. I feel we need a very strong walk campaign. So as many people that want to walk precincts, there's a lot of walking going on right now with the election next week. That's what we need, and we're going to need it all through the summer in those hot months, and then of course in the fall. That would be first and foremost.
I want to mention something about the walking. When Helen Rudy, who was our first supervisor, woman supervisor that was elected here in the county, when she was running, I actually came all the way from Roner Park to Santa Rosa to walk for her, because I wanted so badly for her to win. So walking is really, really important. So what are some other things, that you can use?
We will be, as you know, we'll be doing many fundraisers over the summer. We've got our kickoff on June 22nd. We need help with that. We will be doing house parties. We always need people to, later on, especially help us with phone banking. Anybody that has any kind of office experience that's interested in doing database work, all of those things are going on, helping just with the organization of getting our message out. Those are the kind of things that we need.
And of course, the big thing, the dollars.
I shouldn't say that goes without saying, because you can never say it enough. Fundraising is, you're right, I am running my campaign on a shoestring. It is a grassroots campaign, but you can't say enough about it. In order to get your message out to 35,000, 40,000 people, you need to have funding for that.
That's another plus for district elections, because if you have a district, then you don't have to worry about the whole city. I mean, it's just amazing. I really, really encourage my viewers that when the ballots come out and when they start doing all the PR on it, and some of them, I know there's going to be negative campaigning, that they really pay attention, because in a democracy, and we do live in a democracy, we need representation.
Right.
We really do.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Well, we're coming to, time goes by so fast when you're having fun in this studio. And what I like to do, as you've done before, is I give all my guests an opportunity to look over here at the camera, and anything that's in your heart. This is Women's Spaces, but everybody votes, and anything that's in your heart, please be my guest.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I just want to really say to the voters and to your audience that my campaign, I feel, really, I just came up with our slogan, and I really feel it's a campaign for the people. I am a person that doesn't come from very much. I still don't have very much, but I really care about our community. I care about our residents, and I care about how our city grows and develops. And that's why I'm running, because I want to make sure that all of us, not just those at the 1%, but that all of us have opportunities to be the best that we can be, and that our city be the best that it can be, and that it be there for everyone, from the folks that I work with in the homeless community to, like I said, the 1% of the folks at the top. I want to be there for everyone, and the one thing that I promise that I will do is I will listen, because I think that's really key to any elected official being successful.
Well, I'll tell you, being on the Planning Commission, any commission, you really, really have to learn to listen. Yes. Well, Carolyn, I want to thank you so much for being on Women's Spaces, and I want to wish you the best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you.
And to my viewers, wow, another wonderful woman that's coming forward in our community to serve us, to serve our children, and to try to make a difference. My hat's off to Carolyn Banuelos, and why, she's a working woman. and trying to run a campaign. I mean, I could go on, but I think it's really important that we pay attention and not be overwhelmed by some of the campaign literature, but really look at the person, look at the literature, look at the stuff behind the ads. You know, oftentimes I say to myself, when I see somebody that's overwhelmingly, like I know with the presidential campaign, people are coming out, the ads are coming out, and I see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars being spent, and I have to ask myself a question. Why are these people telling me to vote for this person? Is it because they really have my interest at heart, or are they putting their dollars behind somebody that's going to serve their business interest and not the people's interest? So we have to really think about those things. You know, our vote still counts. You know, and another thing, women, I really want to encourage my women viewers to get out and vote. It took us over 100 years to get the vote. And if you watch a film called Iron-Jawed Angels, you'll see that women were waterboarded. That's how bad they wanted to give us the vote. And we only got the vote by one vote. And look what's going on now. You know, women have got to come up and step up to the plate and mark their ballots. It's very, very important. I found out that women are not voting. In fact, there's about, in our country, believe it or not, the United States of America, a country that is free, that has been free of war for hundreds of years, has the lowest turnout in voting. When there are countries all across the globe where women, children, men are dying so they have the right to go to the polls. I'm ashamed of anybody who doesn't vote. And you know something? If you believe or are frustrated because of the Democrats or the Republicans, you know, if there's a frustration and you stay home and that's your way of protesting, you're not protesting. You're just saying, I don't care what happens, just do what you want. If you cannot vote for a Democrat or you cannot vote for a Republican, then vote for an alternative party. Give them some numbers so they can at least have some push and some clout for us. So there's a lot to think about, and you know, that's the whole purpose of Women's Spaces, is to give us all something to think about. And you know, at the end of my show, I try to encourage particularly my women viewers to do one small thing. You know, if you can't get involved, with some sort of organization, I mean, right now you see there are many, many wonderful candidates. Caroline herself said, come on out, I need help. If you don't want to get involved on that level, on the very least you could do is write your congressman, write your senator, write your local people, and make one simple suggestion, and that is, before they write that important bill, before they take that important vote, they think of one thing, and that is it good for the children? If it's not good for the children, my suggestion is, hey, let's not do it. Because if it's not good for the children, it's not good for the future. And once again, I want to do a shout out for my dear friend, Dolores Huerta. Congratulations. You have made us all proud. And thank you, President Barack Obama, for recognizing this wonderful woman who has worked so hard to bring a better life for her people. Anyway, this is Elaine Holtz with Women's Spaces saying thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to vote, and I will see you the next time.
We'll do what you must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily. She knows everything you do because the woman in your life is you. The woman in your life knows simply what is true. She knows a simple way to touch